Yeah.
But I'd rather not. I don't have flat shoes today.
I'll Steve drive up and drive you down.
Yeah, great truck.
I'll take an Uber. No, just kidding.
You might have to go pick up Tanya.
Hey, one more.
Yeah.
There is closest. Run, Tanya, run. I'm not getting damn to go there. Cruise over from the strong arm carrying. I'm sorry,
The guys here.
in the morning today.
Yeah.
Up next door and ask if you want.
Sure. That one wasn't carried. It's a cheery.
Very accepting.
Just reading history. I'm back from, we're in service. I drove to Auburn back this morning already. Yeah. It's Monday.
I did too.
It's a conference
Didn't
call.
drive back yet.
I'm not back.
You're still in Auburn right now?
Yeah.
Got one more on the way.
Okay.
All right, we gotta have a quorum. Go ahead and get started. Start with welcome and introductions. I'm Jeff Gold, the Chief Probation Officer. And we'll go to the left.
Carrie Klein, Public Defender. Molly Patrick, Sheriff's Office.
Jana.
Yeah.
Can't get through my thing. Jane now, jail lieutenant. Steve Sinclair, probation. Jeremy Vance, probation.
And Foster Manor City PD.
Liz, Emma Claus.
Alex Gamble, guard, Grass Valley Police Chief.
Cinnamon Danielson, Women of Work. Linda Valente, Probation. Angie Cotton, Probation.
River Health and Human Services Director.
Michelle Donovan, TA Analyst.
We'll go up to the screen there. You want to start with Tanya?
Hi, Tanya Clark, Courts.
If you could just pass it to someone else.
Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Eastbrigham with Connecting Point. And I guess Courtney would be next.
Hi, Courtney Palencia. I'm also with Connecting Point. Oh, sorry, I'll pass it to Allison.
I'm Allison Bischofberger. I'm with Community Beyond Violence.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so like I said, we have a quorum. We're here and then one on the screen, so there we go. I need approval of the January and February meeting minutes. We'll have had a chance to read those,
So moved.
both.
Yes.
You were present at both.
I'll second, because I was like, there's one that I missed, but yeah. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You abstain?
I abstained because I wasn't at the February meeting. according to the minutes.
Pass it then, right?
I mean, like technically, you can vote on things you were absent from. It's just a practice. So, aye.
All right, there you go.
There we go. Way to be a.
You read them, so you feel like you're here, right? You studied them. All right. Everyone said aye, so motion carries. We have public comment on here, but I don't think we have any public. I'm sorry. He says bylaws. Let's crank through this. So bylaws, we've talked about these at length. There was a few minor changes which I made, but we've never voted on them. So once we vote on these, and then people can send seconds or a designee. So I get a motion to approve the bylaws.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
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 Go, motion carries. 0-9. So now we have bylaws. Like 14 years in the making. And so just a note on that, you can read the designee part. I know it says March 1st, but since it's past that date, we can set those for this year. So that we can have that established. So go through that process. Set your designee.
where do they live? It wasn't attached to the email from the phone.
They live. I don't know what
We'll
they're.
upload them to the CCP webpage
Okay.
and we'll send them to everybody. Now that we've been approved.
What about SharePoint? Good luck.
So,
Yeah. Next thing we have is the CCP Innovation Fund. So that's probably the bulk of today. And so I believe we have, well, let me just tell you what we received. So we received a request from CBB, Communities Beyond, our Community Beyond Violence, Connecting Point, Women of Word, and Pause. Give Dan a little bit of a hard time. Dan was a little bit late on submitting his, but still put it in. Steve is over there. But we've done this a couple different ways. So again, the max funding available, I believe, for all the aggregate amount is 40,000 is what was approved. Must be a community-based organization located in Nevada County and must provide services to justice for all populations. So we've done it a couple different ways. And if folks are here, I'd rather them just, instead of us kind of looking at the proposal of the individual from that group, just giving a brief presentation as to what they're proposing. So the one that I have on top is Communities Beyond Violence. So Allison, if you want to speak to that for just briefly?
Sure, yeah. So our goal would be to create a pilot restorative justice program for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault in Western Nevada County. And our goal would be to just increase the options that are available to folks who have both experienced harm and then also done harm to others. And we would be sending 2 of our staff members to an advanced conflict resolution training so that they could become certified mediators. And then we would be able to provide victim offender dialogues where they would meet face-to-face in a setting that would be facilitated by our trained advocates, with the goal of just creating some more to empower the survivors to have a little bit more control over the justice process. A lot of survivors report experiencing just a sense of not really knowing what's happening or who's in control or, you know, what the process is when they're involved in the criminal justice system. And then also to have a little bit more closure for them and a different level of accountability for the offender in that situation. And then some of the needs that we're seeing with the folks that we are working with is there's a couple different scenarios that sort of often present themselves. One is people who report being harmed, but the harm does not rise to the level where the offender would be prosecuted. And yet that person is still, you know, has been harmed and is still experiencing the effects of sexual violence or domestic violence. And so this would offer them an opportunity to have some accountability And then the other situation that we often experience is in family violence, there's abuse happening, there's harm being done, but there's also a reluctance to engage in the traditional criminal justice process because, you know, people love their abuser. They don't want to leave. They're worried about the effect on the children. And so our goal, again, would be to just offer an alternative or an option for those people to hopefully stop the abuse and preserve the family to some extent.
All right, and the budget request was for 40,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions?
How are you going to, like, decide who enters the program and who doesn't? How many people are you going to be able to serve?
So last year we served about 120 people that were involved in the criminal justice process in some aspect. Most of that's restraining orders, some of it's, criminal court. So we would estimate that we would be able to serve about that many people. And then in terms of who would be participating, it would definitely be voluntary. That's one of our main values as an organization, is that all of our services are voluntary participation in services. So this would be something that the survivor would have to be willing to engage in. But we would also, so it would be, part of the conversation as we were working with the survivor, part of the case management would be, are you interested in something like this? And then we would also, accept referrals from other organizations if they think, hey, these people might be a good fit for this. And again, the key would be that the survivor would be willing to engage in the process and would be doing so voluntarily.
Are you aware of any other organizations doing similar work with this demographic of folks in our county?
I don't know of anyone doing restorative justice. I know that Women of Worth also works with victims and survivors of domestic violence.
So we do have the probation department and the DA's office. We do have folks that are trained on victim offender mediation. There's some struggle with getting both parties to volunteer.
And is that true that it's broad across offense types?
Yeah.
Whereas this seems to be more focused on family, domestic relationship.
Correct. It's across, and it's struggled, like I said, one, to get the right folks involved and to get them both to volunteer. So that's where it struggled.
Yeah, I think in our case, there is some more incentive if it's family violence, because ideally both parties want to preserve the relationship or the family to some extent. And that's not always the case, which is why it wouldn't work for everyone that we work with. But there are definitely folks who express that they want the violence to stop, but they don't want to leave their partner.
Any other questions? Great, thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
All right. The next is Connecting Point.
Hi, yeah, we turned in an application specifically for supplementing our existing service for our Youth Service Corps, or it used to be called Youth Job Corps. We have a couple different programs in our agency that are pretty robust in job skills training and soft skills training for people who are looking for employment, specifically youth. And so this would just supplement that. It would pay for a part of a staff person who could be available to receive referrals directly from the probation department so that they can get in immediately. Right now, we're limited in our current funding because of the amount of interest in our program. We have quite a few referrals and not enough staff time to meet the needs of those who are on the waiting list. The program that we have right now is navigators who meet specifically with people who are referred to our program or who can self-refer. They meet with them, they go through an intake process. They use the 211 database to provide any referrals or resources that might be available to them for housing, or maybe their family has a utility bill, transportation, childcare, and other things. And then after that, they meet with the participant one-on-one to provide soft skills training that are specifically in areas of teamwork, professionalism, how to communicate professionally in a job, and different networking skills. And then in addition to that, we go over basic hygiene and appearance standards for working in specific jobs. Then we connect them with an internship opportunity. And our program has really been effective in creating self-sufficiency for young people, opening up opportunities for them to learn about professions and jobs that they could be eligible for in the future, gets them a foot in the door, and has really shown to promote autonomy and just finding purpose. So that's kind of like an overview of our youth program.
Anyone have any questions? Sorry.
Are there age eligibility requirements for this and or a focus related to age? I just heard the word youth, so I'm curious.
Our focus is the grant can cover anybody from 16 to 30. And then in addition to that, we also have another program that covers adults with children. So we don't really have a specific age range that can be served. It would be, we're curious to know what is the definition of juvenile, if it's up to 18, but we can serve anybody from 16 to 30.
Dollar amount? Dollar amount?
What was that?
He was asking the dollar amount.
Of our request?
Yeah, correct.
$40,000 to supplement one of our staff who it would cover, I believe, almost half time of a staff person.
Any other questions?
Would that be a new staff person?
It could potentially be a new staff person. It could also be somebody that we have now who would transition into that position, and we would hire new in a different department.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean the individual, but is it additional staff capacity or is it funding?
Yes.
in position?
It would be additional staff capacity at this point. Yeah.
Any other questions? This one we have is Women at Work.
Thank you so much. So last year I did apply for Innovation Fund and you guys said yes. So we launched our wellness program, which is a program that was going on in our safe house and in people who would call in for services. But we launched it to be just meet a greater need. And so this is our curriculum. I wanted to just show you if you want to see it. And then I also just have, these are our surveys that we take in when someone comes into the to get services. They would get one and then an exit so that we can kind of measure like how are people doing, are they learning skills? And also some reviews of men and women who have taken the class on just how to create boundaries with unhealthy people, how to be accountable and responsible for their behaviors. And it's been really excellent. So does anybody want anything? I just brought some, but so essentially we would love to expand it. And so we're in the process of having our backgrounds cleared for our director to go into the jail and do it in the girls' wings. We also have our director is doing 7 classes a week right now because the need is so great. And so if somebody calls Women at Work and they've experienced domestic violence or any type of trafficking, we just offer it to them and people want to get healthier. So they jump in, they take the class. Maybe their husband takes a class with them or their dad takes a class or wherever that domestic violence issue might be or relational dynamics that they're having problems with, they can just jump in, take a class together or separately. And so there's a lot of flexibility. Jillian, our director, does Zoom classes. She does in-person classes. And so we'd love to expand that so that she has a little bit more time. Right now, she's currently funded at 10 hours a week. We'd love for her to be able to spend more hours doing that. And then also just expand our ability to have a little better conference space for her when she's doing larger groups. That's about the gist of it.
Do we have any questions?
40,000.
What do you, last year, innovation funds helped get the program started. You're here again this year. What do you see? If you weren't funded, would it continue? And if you weren't funded, let's say you were funded this year, but you weren't funded in the following year, what's your sustainability?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So we have lots of different grants that we're applying for to keep the funding coming. This was something that we saw a need to be able to offer this to more people in the community. And so applying for it last year, it gave us the ability to really launch it in a larger scale. And then, of course, when we saw the grant open up again, wanted to apply. But I am asking, obviously, other sources because it has to be sustainable. If we did not get this funding, yes, we would continue to do it, but we would have to keep it at a smaller scale, which is better than nothing. And it is something that just is really helpful to not only women in our safe house, but people in the community.
Do you have a number of clients served last year based upon?
Yes, we had 35 men and women go through the wellness program, and so it's 12 weeks. So we can only, send so many people through, but yeah, 35 went through. Well, it's really only been 7 months because we didn't start it until July, so funding was a little late.
The open-ended class, so like, or is it like 12 weeks? It's
12 weeks, yes.
So
And
they gotta wait until another one.
oh, no, they can pop in at any time. That's why she has 7 going right now. I'm sorry, and I can't remember correctly. So yeah, she has, because there's always people who are gonna start week 1, and so they have to start at the beginning. And if possible, she can put a few people in to that, but yeah, it's 12 weeks.
Any other questions?
Question about the structure of the innovation funding, but do we allow for multiple years of funding, or is it intended as a one-time thing?
That's up to us, I guess.
But it's not something that was expressed in the.
No, I know our discussions, we talked about it being to kind of start programs to kind of seed money for innovative programs. We're going to talk about sustainability and expansion, those sorts of things. So.
I was invited to apply, so.
Sure. Questions? Okay. And then we have pause, and I know you guys kind of gave the we presented last time background. I mean, maybe a brief kind of. I don't think it's gonna talk for this. We'll try to keep it shorter. It's gonna be the same. Those are the most part. Everyone of each. Yeah. That's budget and the other.
Should be the same on this one thing.
On the other direction.
Yeah, I look both ways. Maybe. Liz will jump in.
So, just like I mentioned last time, many of our low income and unhoused neighbors in Nevada County are facing, who are facing eviction, are a decision between life-saving treatment or keep their pets. For many of these people, their pets are their only family and source of emotional support. Research shows that 30% of individuals delay treatment due to pet care concerns. And when clients know that their pets are safe, treatment completion rates increase by 38%. So what we offer is a comprehensive solution by providing temporary foster care, which includes food, supplies, veterinary services, which includes spay and neutering, and regular updates to owners while they focus on their recovery, as well as a
Rehabilitation.
when they rehabilitate after they get out of rehab. So It's super cost effective as well. Our community spends approximately $12,119 per year per untreated individual struggling with addiction. Every dollar invested in addiction treatment yields $18 in reduced cost to our community. Additionally, our foster-based approach costs $403 less per animal per month compared to traditional shelter care in Nevada County. So we will be seeking $20,000. There are many programs similar to this one that have been incredibly successful and helped thousands of pets. And yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in a couple things real quick too. There is similar programs, none locally or close to us really. It's kind of, this is something, a newer idea that's being pushed forward. And I think they're highly successful. I guess a couple different things for us is we're a fully nonprofit. These funds that we're seeking are not for any staff time or staff employees. It's all volunteer. I volunteered. Liz volunteers on our board as a vet, local vet. She volunteers. So all of this will go towards the animals themselves. Also, our request is for up to 20,000. And what I mean by that is we're looking for reimbursable expense funds, which if the board approves, if you prefer either way, that's how I'm used to doing with the CCP, $5,000 seed funds that we would get up front, and then we'd submit receipts, however it works for the board, monthly or quarterly, to get up to the 20,000. I will say this is moving very, very fast. There is definitely a public need for this. We weren't actually intending to even start yet. We're checking funding first. We already have animals in the program. And I can tell you how expensive it is. We got 2 cats for a lady that was seeking assistance, went into a safe house. Obviously, it's open to the public. Can't discuss it too much. But she had 2 cats. We did take them in. We did find foster families for them. We did do the whole interview process with the client and the foster family. The cats have medical needs. One's a little bit older. We're looking at about 1,800 and mostly oral surgery that are needed. That will come out of pocket of our board members if we can't get funding for this. Because I do think it's a very important program. I have somebody that's basically getting assistance off the streets. And if we can't secure funding, and she wouldn't go in if she couldn't get her cats taken care of. I mean, it sounds like it's for the animals, but this is for what the animals and the people. So with that, that's what we submit, unless there's any questions.
Do you have any estimations on number of people you anticipate serving in like 1 year period of time?
We really don't. It's going to be funding based more than anything, you know, and I love to say on these nonprofits, the Beatles say all you need is love, and I say BS need a lot of money. So it depends on really what this is a new program for us. And it depends on what the expenditures are going to be. We have 2 cats that we're looking at $2,000 right off the bat. If we get medical expenses, our biggest fear. If we get animals in that need major medical expense, that can add up very quickly. So I would love to see our first year, which I think is going to happen rapidly, at least 5 clients come through. It's a small nonprofit. It's a small request, I think, for that, and we move up from there. Ideally, what I'd like to see inside of 5 years is 20 to 30 clients annually coming through for this type of system.
I don't know if we can answer right now. How many fosters do you guys have? You know, what's your capacity today? You were funded today and you had 5 new clients come. Do you have the foster capacity for that?
We have 3 fosters that we've screened and are available currently. So again, we just started this program, and when I mean started, like me and Liz sat down and brainstormed on what it was in November. So I think that's actually a really good number. Ideally, we would like to have fosters for any type of animal. You know, obviously, we thought dogs would be the primary concern, and yet our first client is 2 cats. So you never know what's going to come to the door, what's needed. So we're going to try to expand for fosters for anything from goats to parrots. But that would be something that we would maintain but right now we currently have 3, which I'm proud of. I think that's a good number for where we're at.
You have a question, Brian?
I mean, similar in terms of the sustainability, so you received this funding and it wasn't available next year. What are you looking to in terms of ongoing support for the program?
I'm gonna be very honest with you, Ryan. I'm used to, I have another couple nonprofits that I tap into CCP funds for different counties. Every county runs different. I would be coming back. I think this prevents recidivism big time, especially for exclusively a nonprofit. But we would be looking to supplement it through the fundraising and traditional nonprofit gains. Now, being part of the nonprofit scene for some time, that has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. The amount that you're able to cure that source has dried up to some degree, just to be blunt about it. It used to
From
be,
donations?
yeah, when I started my first one in 2015, I was getting 60,000 minimum for private donations. That nonprofit's much larger, much bigger name, and I think I make less than that on private donations now. So that scene has changed pretty dramatically. It's grant-based, CCP, that type of thing is where most nonprofits get their funding now. I would say if we got this funding, one of our first things that we would be seeking to do is try to get grant funding from state or federal level. This is kind of a unique program because it's animal-based for people, so the grant funding I'm not super familiar with. I mean, I see them all, we all do in this room. I haven't seen a lot that show up for this type of thing, but finding that nexus is definitely something we would seek. And we're asking, I think, oh yeah, up to 20,000.
Any other questions? Thank you for pondering a question there, Alex.
Not for this specifically, I have some general funding questions after we're done.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of them, and Ryan kind of hit on it, is sustainability piece. For any of the programs, it's if we're funding the seed funds and then what comes next.
Well, that's one of my questions. Should we? I have any more questions for them? Otherwise, I have like CCP, like higher level questions on this. You want?
You guys are welcome to say, I mean, it's a public meeting, so.
I talked about those, so it makes these right.
Yeah, I don't mind leaving. Then you
I mean, I'll make it easy. If there's no more questions for us.
Yeah.
call
You got
us on
things to
cell
do?
phone. Yeah. Does that work?
Sure.
That's fine. Everyone do.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have some follow-up questions. Let's take them. Okay, not leaving ballots. Let's see it.
I'm gonna tape them up on like the city. What is our, like? I wanna go way back a little bit because this is the second year that we're looking at doing this. We're gonna start setting a precedent. Yeah. 1 year's one thing, second year becomes something else, and then I think there becomes like this precedent question. Innovation funds, as they're called right now, is that a state term, right? Or is that us coming?
It's part of the legislation. Now, every county decides their CCP and their board.
I'm just rolling back into their.
It's the main CCP.
And do not-
It's a carve out that's identified as a portion of the dollars that come into Nevada County, right?
But if I remember correctly, it was, the reason why we had a little bit in reserve is because we didn't do it for years that we should have. So per year amount is.
That's what was like, it's tell me a question, like what's our, do we know what our annual inflow is of these dollars if we were to keep everything the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's not consistent because it's based on the growth that
Right.
comes.
Ballpark.
For example, 22-23 are, we got 18,000 in. 21-22, we got 56,000 in. I don't know, to be fair, I'm not sure, I have an update for, or I have an estimate for 24-25, and I might not have updated recently. Also fairly low, about 18,000. So it just.
25,000, yeah.
And then any other community-based contract or, well, they end up being contracts, but any other community organization who is seeing the benefits of CCP funds one way or another is through a contract, correct? Like with probation. You guys have other nonprofits that are doing work, but it's coming out of big CCP budget, probation budget, and then you have a contract services, right? Whereas this is these are requests that are completely separate from.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, on the adult side and the juvenile side, I mean, that's some of the discussions we've had, like, to get in the door, I mean, and like Dan said, every CCP does it slightly different. I mean, it could be like Carrie sees a need and says, hey, I have this need for my clients at Communities Beyond Violence or wherever it is, and brings that up, or it could be change the way that we request funding, but I mean, it also has to be in a way that it's not totally unwieldy, where it's like, you know, every single request about anything could, you know, that would just take forever to go through all that. But that's a larger kind of CCP question. I think this was a way to kind of open that door to provide some money to see if it's an innovative program. And so maybe that's it, is it's you provide the seed money and see if it's an innovative program, and then one of the departments champions it, or the group as a whole champions it, and it's carved out into a separate piece. I mean, like, you know, other places that we contract with, whether it's common, or what are they called now, common purpose, or whoever it is, you know.
Yeah, I remember that being part of like the initial discussion, was that potentially some of these programs, you know, we give them the seed money and they do well, then maybe in future years that's something.
I think one of my concerns is like, and this is always the case, right? It's easier to say this comment than actually do it, but like, what's the metrics for did well? And measuring that against the population that we're trying to serve through the realignment dollars, because doing well and good work is maybe different than doing something that reduces recidivism specifically to the population of people that are, you know, AB 109 realignment based offenses, right? And so.
Well, that's where we could, I mean, use the data subgroup to do some of this work. I mean, we could tell them, hey, this is what we're looking for, and send them out on the way. I mean, we're never going to have the capacity to do like a scientific sound study.
And then the other thing you can never measure probably would be preventative work. Like, I'm very interested in spending dollars to prevent ever having to see, you know, the incident that occurs that now puts the person into the realm. Like, ideally, I'd spend more money on prevention, the old saying, an ounce of prevention, you know, over a pound of cure.
I mean, the data
But then
group
how do
could
we,
do.
then how do we show? So like, I mean,
You can't
that's
show
what I
that.
was thinking, like, you look at the connecting point, and I'm just gonna be very, you look at their proposal, and their proposal really is to keep youth out of the system entirely. Not to contract with probation and, you know, be a job referral source for probationers, but 16 to 30 in the community, let's help you find work or
And I
find
do,
a career.
there's
or find
data
whatever.
that says
Yeah.
if you are working or finding work, you're less likely to.
Exactly, but it's not measurable in some respects, and in others, it's measurable because we know it's gonna work.
Well, we can use, I mean, you can have the data group do some sort of lit review or meta-analysis of studies that have already happened.
Yeah.
To say,
If you.
this is what,
people,
if they're doing it right, this is the outcome you should have, and then you could do some sort of.
But so then that goes into my next kind of question is, so let's say you fund something year one and we do some analysis on it. And then you move it into the generalized budget through a department or through probation or whatever. Like, we like this program as a CCP in general. Now we want to continue to fund it. Now the next group comes in next year and now that's, you know, 40,000. And now the next year, now you have $80,000 worth of good program. And like, how do we fund this in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the budget decision-making process that we have to go through. And then the other part is, from the probation standpoint, is everyone we add is more work on us, well, more work on
Someone.
Angie, you know, like doing contracts and doing all that kind of stuff that has an administrative cost to it as well. So,
One other piece of that, you're talking about data collection. I mean, most of these groups have not, other than you hear, we serve 35 people, and that's great, that's a number, but to get.
they're not great at it.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of work from the contract management perspective just to get them to a point where they start collecting. So, yeah, it would be, that model makes sense, but yeah, just collecting a bunch of contracts through CCP that dated.
And for small I mean, for 20,000, and you're gonna say, give me these 35 data points, they're gonna be like, oh, geez.
So do we have any sense of how much our CCP contributes to community-based nonprofit intervention or other programs as a comparison to the other 57 counties?
Oh. I don't know. I mean, there's been some. And I've seen one that did like 10 different counties and kind of broke down what they spent, but it was more so like treatment dollars and stuff like that. It wasn't broken down as to like, oh, it's a local treatment provider or something like that, or even like jail-based services. Like it doesn't break it down like, okay, we gave this amount to so-and-so to provide, you know, in the daily rate or whatever.
I'm just struggling a little bit with like, I like some of the programs. I mean, I like all of them, right? But I just,
Yeah.
there's only so much money. And then I'm wondering,
And so we could.
what else can we do with innovation funds?
Yeah.
I know that it's a little early to say that since it's only year 2, but I'm just wondering if we're creating a process where we're writing checks and then.
What you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna get any easier because, I mean, they all said grants, and as you know, a lot of grants are shriveling up, at least they come from the government, you know, and so there's gonna be a lot more people asking and a lot less sustainability relative to chasing grants all the time.
Remind me, because I didn't bring my notes with me. I drove straight from another meeting. I actually had some of the stuff printed out on my desk, but what was our total innovation fund budget for 20? What's the number you were?
That's 40,000, right?
Yeah, and so we have 3 asking for the full amount, 1 asking for half.
And as women, we're the only funded program this year. Or we're the-
And Spirit.
and Spirit, and they're not applying for official fund Spirit, just.
So, yeah, I mean, that could be a longer discussion, and maybe part of it is, let's say we decide there's X amount for innovation and then there's X amount to sustain it, but then like at some point that has to be capped as well, and that might change based on how much money we're taking in, you know, and the balance and everything else. I mean, we do have a healthy fund balance at this point, so.
I do agree that if we do it every single year, you start layering, like either you're cycling through different projects each year, or you're awarding the same ones year after year, and yeah, how is that actually contributing to the broader goals of CCP?
You either want to be like a startup incubator, seed funding, and then it's literally just that, or you need to be moving these things
And I think
based upon some metrics into sustainable funding sources.
And I think that was the initial idea of like seeding those things, but it's just, I don't know where they find other money, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like what would be innovative is to use this money to contract with someone to work with these organizations, to find grants and to expand that way versus us funding them starting up and then probably shutting down because we don't have funding for them the next year.
Oh, but I would assume most of them must have grant funding, right?
That's on the-
I mean,
would assume.
depending on the size of them, I guess.
So, yeah,
It seems like we could be really explicit in the solicitation that we're requiring you to have this sustainability plan, and like part of the program is figuring out what your funding is, and this is a one-time allocation. I like the concept of getting money out there into CBOs that are working in spaces that contribute to CCP. It's just, yeah, are we really trying to integrate it into our core funding or just get them spurred, you know?
yeah, I see this like of these 4 requests, the one to me that seems the most innovation fund or startup is obviously Pause because they're a startup. I like the demographic they're saying they're looking to serve because just in my experience in law enforcement, it's been any barrier you can break down to get to treatment. Barriers have been a significant issue, and I know animals have been. I also see them because it's animals. People love animals. People love giving to animals. And so I see a sustainable funding into the future for that. I also see it in a space that there's probably some overlap with some organizations that could do this, are already doing it. So as long as it's collaborative with other animal serving nonprofits, I think that could work. The WOW program has already started. Based upon the conversations we already had, I'm not totally crazy about refunding it, only funding it again, only because that's a slippery slope. The connecting point, I like that because it's prevention. But again, it seems like something they're sort of already doing. They're looking to expand, so I would like to work with them to hone in on the prevention population they're looking at. And then the CBB, kind of similar, but I don't know enough about what they're already doing, but it feels kind of like we're expanding a program instead of creating one, I guess would be my only. And again, I know they're not listening, but it's like, that's only from a little bit I heard.
It's also what CBB is for folks in our probation TA's office.
Well, that's not doing it successfully.
So,
But we don't, I mean,
Is that something, just to go specifically to that one, is that something where is ever court ordered, like mediation, or it's literally like they're saying it's gonna be voluntary?
voluntary. I mean, because you don't get, like, what are you gonna get? But if you're forcing someone to do it, number one, you should force a victim to do it, but let's say the victim wants to do it, but the offender doesn't. And then what are they gonna do? They're gonna walk in there and, re-victimize them, or, just be there and be like, God, I'm sorry you felt that way.
So she said 120. I'm just curious of, that's total served, but like what percentage of that is gonna engage in that? And what's our return on investment at 40,000?
well, and also like what we were looking at is on the offender side, is the offender far enough along in their treatment that they'll be mature, like you're kind of saying, like, are they mature enough to like engage in this in a way that's productive and not just like, hey,
Check the box.
yeah, I'm going to my thing. Yeah, I mean, it's, and the connecting point, I would say, I'm surprised they've never come to the juvenile side of the house to try to,
Juvenile innovation fund.
Yeah. to try to get funds for that.
Yeah, because that would be a separate.
Yeah. But I don't know.
My only issue with the pause thing is that there's some of the things that they have in their budget that I think they should have volunteers do, like the legal assistance. I don't really think that innovation should be paying for legal assistance to keep the organization from getting sued. Outreach, it sounds like they've already been successful with that, and they're putting a lot of money into it. I'd rather see that into emergency services when I'm hearing that 2 cats are, $2,000. But I also think like, this is super valuable. My cat would not get $2,000 from the care. Sorry, it's a cat.
Well, that's the other thing, to say that it's expensive, we could quickly rip through 20,000 on a couple of surgeries.
Exactly.
So is the barrier
And
a sick cat, or is it
is it money? Is it that they need to go to treatment? Or are they going to treatment because they have a sick cat and they're in this program? And it's also who's determining the treatment that the animal gets? I mean, if I'm determining it, this is gonna sound so cold-hearted, we kind of have a $500 limit in our household on their pet. Not that we've ever stuck with it, but that's what we're talking about. And we used to have a dog, every time we took him to the vet, we'd be like, you're over your $500. But I mean, it is like, who's making that decision? Are we paying, are they paying $1,000 for treatment for something that's got a 10% success rate? Or
City of Grass Valley is just partnering now with another newer nonprofit called Wayward Journey, and their whole thing is fostering animals. So they aren't living in kennels, they're living in foster homes, they're still available for adoption, but medical is a huge part of what they do because government's not gonna. And so that's where I'm kind of like, if we gave them 10,000 and they had to fundraise the difference on their medical piece, but 10,000 got them through some of these basic animal services things and food for the fosters and some of the carrying costs while the person's in treatment. It's something. 10 or 15. Like I agree on legal, that should be a startup cost you already dealt with and an ongoing cost that we shouldn't. That's a cost of doing business to create a nonprofit. I'll stop talking.
But I also see it as a huge hole, because I think we all see people who are not going into treatment because they don't believe they have good care for their pet.
Totally.
I'm not a pet person, so it's.
$100. Here's $100 limit. Ryan's over that.
I'm a new cat. Just go get a new one.
So what is our action item? We need to,
So we either need to vote on these or create another action item to figure out what we want to do moving forward, or vote on these and do that, or some variation thereof. I mean, yeah, it's hard because you have a certain amount of money and you can't obviously say yes to all of them. I think we said no to Connecting Point last year, right? As they came. I think they had just gotten $1 million grant from social services or something like that.
do you know if any of these other asks are scalable though? We didn't ask, we should have asked them that. Like if they didn't get 40, but they got 10, 20, 30, like, did they scale it or is it an all or nothing? Because we can make it, like I can make a motion right now of some number, but I don't know if that would help them.
I think I think that what I would propose we do is that we ask each of these people 2 questions, which is it scalable? And if, we aren't prepared to give you the full 40,000, and please tell us your plan for sustainability.
In writing, just
In
send it to
writing,
us.
yeah.
They all left. I didn't say they had to leave. No.
No, but I think we could send them query.
Yeah, I know. And then I don't know if sheriff staff know this or not, but I would think if Women of Worth wanted to expand to the jail, like that they would ask, like, is there funding available in the jail to, is there sheriff's department funding available for us to run this program in the jail?
The programs that come to the jail, it's nonprofits. We're not paying them to come in and we don't charge them to come in. They just have to work with our staff to find a space to be able to present their topic. And,
Yeah, but I'm just saying they could, because like Project Heart, I think you guys are contracted with that, right?
In the process.
So I'm just saying, like, I was wondering if they'd ever asked, like, hey, we would like to expand this project, but we can't without funding. Are you guys interested?
Yeah, if it's something that's at the jail, possibly IWF funds could be used towards it. I guess it would depend on what the money's going towards.
Yeah, IWF, it's my understanding that it has to benefit all of the inmates. It can't just benefit a selected group of the inmates.
That's always the challenge, is make it equal to all.
Yeah, that's why Project Heart works, because anybody can participate in the program.
Women Worth is limited to women.
Probably have a subset of offenses of the offender. I guess, yeah.
No, I think that we just talking to some of the women in the jail, I think that they're just talking all.
Oh, okay.
They're working with all on wellness, mindfulness.
Right, so is there a motion to ask?
Do we have to have a full or meeting to make a decision then, I guess, right? Because it's dollars, so we'd have to have another meeting.
Okay, so Alex is asking for another meeting.
No. But I think we have to ask the question. I don't think we're in a spot that we can approve dollars without knowing at least those 2 questions. One was, is it scalable, or what would you do if we funded you with less?
We'll add that if we decide to move forward next year, we'll add that to the
Queries,
the
yes.
other question.
What's the second one? It was sustainability and sectionality. And then,
You want me to ask that of all of them? Right? Okay.
yeah, if we're asking them questions, now would be the time to.
I don't think we need to have another meeting where we look at all the proposals and hear from all of them, like we can come. If we decide today that we want to give 10,000 to an adjusted policy program and how much money we have available after that, and you come back with a recommendation versus an open-ended, which one do you want to fund and to what amount?
And are we locked into 40 total because of the budget process, or could it be
We
45?
just talked about that relative to what, to make it so it kind of refills itself essentially with what we had banked up and what we've seen come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, but do you mean like for this year, if we decided we wanted to up it?
So you want to give 15 to 3 of them?
It'd be
And,
a budget amendment process. Budget.
but right now it's set at 40.
Yeah.
What's the total fund balance in innovative? Do you have that in front of you?
Let's see. So we have. currently, I mean, if, assuming by the end of this fiscal year, both Spirit and WOW spend their entire 15,000, we'd be at 196. And that doesn't include what we estimate coming in this year. It would be very end of this year.
So, I mean, yeah, we could,
It's been 5 years of it with nothing coming in. And you said we've seen 56,000, we saw 18,000 year over year differences, so.
It's, I mean, it's there's four different growth funds that feed into this, the DAPD sub-account, trial court security sub-account, criminal justice sub-account, and the community corrections sub-account. Obviously, the community corrections is the biggest piece of that one.
There's not an action item today, but sometimes I'd love to discuss that big dollar amount that's sitting there for capital improvement, just like at least get an update or decide if we need to. It's been sitting there for years.
a helicopter, and up top.
Prioritize helicopter pads.
So do we want to,
I think we ask them all the question before we fund any of them.
but do we want to decide today and like say, or do you not even want to do that of saying like, I'd be willing to do, like you were saying, Brian, like, so that the next meeting would just be, okay, this is what we've decided, work for them, moving forward.
I don't want to tell them what we're going to potentially give them. And then find out they don't have a scalability to it.
Yeah.
So might as well just wait.
All right, well, how about this? Let's decide on our next meeting now, so we don't have to send out a thing, yeah. Doodle. Day that works better of the week for anybody?
Before
Uh, The 12th or 16th are clear for me.
Well,
It's budget subcommittee night. Great.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, if we're still in there at 11, then we got problems.
What day are we talking about? Sorry.
The 12th. We're good.
Yeah, usually somebody else says what's up, but I can just put. a
Yeah, we
placeholder
can get
for
our
us.
emails.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't do that. I'll send it to you. I'll just send my
Right.
placeholder to you and Ariel.
11 or 11 on the 12th.
I have a meeting with, but I think Ariel and I could probably move that. Let me see.
I don't think the undersheriff and or captains are available. That's
Only, I mean, as of now, it's only Shannon until she designates someone.
well, but now she can designate some stuff.
And
So she'll probably do this afternoon.
Yeah.
Thursday from our LT at 11, the 15th. It's like everyone in this group is
Yeah, I
clear.
can do the 15th and 11th.
Conflict, but I could miss it. Maybe. We'll make it a half an hour. I mean, it should be.
Yeah.
Can you do? I'll do, yeah, I can do either time. I'll just try and move that one around.
And they can tell if Tanya is available.
15th at 11, Tanya?
Did you say the 15th?
Yeah.
No.
14th?
Yeah, I could do the 14th at 11.
We only need about 4 of us.
Meeting with the highly engaged citizen,
I'm supposed to be somewhere.
not at the same time as me, but the same person.
Well, you know what? I can try to move. I can move I'll move my meeting on the 15th if that works for all of you. I can move
Alright.
I can move it forward an hour or two.
Could
Thank you.
you walk down here too, Tanya?
I will walk down. I will come down too.
Saunter or sashay or whatever. All right, 15.
15th. Are you sending some?
Yes.
Someone said, okay.
These proposals go out to department heads, like, does Jesse have them?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, okay,
well, yeah, let me send them out.
okay, I'll make sure.
Yeah.
It's already
Yeah.
half an hour, it's spoken hour.
You can do that.
You can make it an hour, we'll try to be done in half an hour, so. Yeah. All right, what, I don't think there was anything else on the, we had the data group, but we're not gonna talk about that now. Brendan is not here today. So. Any other public comment? I don't see any public. All right, so we're all done. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Now he jumps in, you know, that's kind of.